Hello and welcome to another live broadcast by the Brazilian Report. My name is Gustavo Ribeiro, editor-in-chief of the Brazilian Report. And today we're going to discuss the 2022 World Cup. We have Brazil and Argentina among the top 8 teams. So we're going to discuss what are the odds that one of these two teams break a 20-year domination by European sides. And I'm joined today by Ignacio Portes, our Latin America editor from Buenos Aires. Hi, Ignacio.
Hey, Gustavo, good to be here.
And Euan Marshall, our editor, who is in São Paulo like me. Hi, Euan.
Good afternoon. Hello.
So usually we talk about politics and economics in Latin America, but the three of us have covered sports at some point in our careers. So let's try not to embarrass ourselves and discuss the World Cup today. And I like to begin by talking about, we had 6 Latin American sides in this World Cup, if I'm not mistaken: Uruguay, Ecuador, Brazil, Argentina, Costa Rica, and Mexico. Only 4 made past the round of 16. Euan, let's start with you. What was your biggest disappointment from Latin America?
Well, so we have, as you said, 6 teams there. Now we're at the quarterfinal point. We only have 2 of them left. Some of them, I think some of the eliminated sides, I think you may be looking at Ecuador, were not disappointments. They put up a good performance this year, and they have potential to do well in the future. Potentially, we're looking at Uruguay as a team that should have qualified from their group. They were unfortunate, I think, because they made too many mistakes in a group where you really couldn't make mistakes from the start. They drew their opening game with South Korea, where they could have won that. They struggled against Portugal in their second game, and then when it all came down to it in their final match against Ghana, they did win the match, but it wasn't enough because of a kind of freak combination of results in the South Korea-Portugal game, and that saw them knocked out in the end. I think in many other tournaments they probably would have qualified with 4 points. But I think it's a big lesson for that Uruguayan side. They're not quite there yet in terms of their kind of transition from their golden generation of the last maybe 10 years or so to this current crop of players. They're going to need a lot of work, I think, for the next World Cup. But besides that, I think everyone more or less is of the eliminated sides. Everyone more or less played to where we expected them to be.
By the way, Ignacio, to bring you in, Euan said that Uruguay did not live up to expectations, and they haven't lived up to expectations for quite a while, right? Outside of that 2010 brilliant campaign where they reached the semifinals since 1950, when they were the World Cup here against Brazil, they haven't done that much, and they are always at the same time David and Goliath, because they have 2 world titles. The same as France, but they haven't done much for a long time. Are you ready to maybe drop them a tier and not put them in that top shelf in World Cup football?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, the tradition in Uruguay is huge, and it's impressive how competitive they can be with a country of 3 million people. But they were competitive in the last World Cup. They reached the quarterfinals. They beat Portugal. And I think in the last 10, 15 years, this generation that they have with great strikers, that they are now aging, Forlan has retired, Suarez and Cavani are in probably their last World Cup. They revived that hope that Uruguay could be big again, that they could compete again for titles, and they couldn't quite make it during that golden generation. And now they have a couple more young players surging. They have a very internationally competitive midfield now with Valverde, Betancourt, and they hoped that they could do it, but I think they are still lacking. They have this mentality that they can beat big teams, and they generally rise to the occasion. They generally create trouble when they play against Brazil, when they played Portugal in the last World Cup. They can sometimes upset the giants. They beat Argentina in the Copa America to win a Copa America 10 years ago. But sometimes when they have to go and attack and beat a small team like Korea, they don't have that mentality that they can be the big team and dominate a game and play an attacking football and control the match and score goals. And they play conservatively against a team that they shouldn't sometimes, like it happened against Korea.
Players, right?
Exactly.
Good players there.
Exactly, and they shot twice on goal in the first game, and they could have scored, but they just didn't generate enough chances, and that cost them in the long run when they had to go and win the game because they had no chance. They played great against Ghana in the last game, but if they had managed to play like that attacking football without fear of taking risks, I think they could have qualified. Maybe that more gritty, defensive, competitive, tackling football should be left for the games against teams that are actually superior to them. Like if they played Brazil in the round of 16 and like they expected, that maybe that was the time to play more defensively. But so maybe with a little bit of mindset adjustment and giving some time to this younger generation, they could become competitive again. I think they are in a transition. They changed coach. Let's see what they do in 4 years. But they still have a very strong football tradition that they can respect, I think.
Yeah, and I think just jumping in on that, I mean, the first thing I think we need to note about Uruguay is the size of the country. I mean, we can't really chastise them for not, winning World Cup since 1950 for a country that is, around the size of Scotland. And they have been competitive in recent tournaments. They went through a really kind of rough spell between 1990 until like 2010, where they were just absolutely rotten. But now
But look, I'm not saying that they should be winning World Cups. I'm just saying, like, should we maybe put them in a tier that is just below, like the likes of Brazil or Argentina, which
they are not in Brazil's tier. I think they know. Everyone knows that Brazil is in a different tier, but they try to. They have the pride, right? They want to be to still think of themselves like they can beat Brazil, and occasionally they can. That's the thing. If Brazil played Uruguay in the round of 16, I would have thought it would be a much more competitive match than it ended up being against South Korea, for sure.
And I think just what Nacho was talking about the kind of two different generations that we've got here, I think perhaps some of the blame for this elimination has to rest at the feet of the coach, Diego Alonso. Because, in the first game, he tries to, the most exciting and the most marketable attacking player at the moment is Darwin Núñez, who plays at Liverpool, centre forward. But in the first game, they wanted to play the aging Luis Suarez up front, so they pushed Darwin out to the left wing, which, he just obviously wasn't comfortable. He wasn't in the game enough.
Oh, I think we lost
Euan.
Yeah, and by the way, just to continue what he was talking about, De Arrascaeta was out as well.
Right, exactly. That was one of the general complaints in the Uruguayan press was we have creative players. We shouldn't be struggling to score a goal against Korea, against Portugal. We have De Arrascaeta, who is a genius midfielder in Brazil. Why did we not play him until the last 10 minutes against Portugal, in which he played fantastic, and in the game against Ghana, in which he scored both goals and played great? And why are we depending on whether the referee decided to say this was a penalty or wasn't, in order to qualify or not, and instead of just using the best tools we have and take advantage of them? That was the controversy. I think we have Euan back.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think Nacho seamlessly picked up the point that I was trying to make. So I think we can move on from Uruguay now.
Yeah, so to move on, let's talk about tomorrow, because we're going to have both Brazil and Argentina playing. Brazil plays first against Croatia, then at noon Brazilian time, at 4 o'clock Brazilian time, we have Argentina against the Netherlands. Nacho, because before the World Cup, I remember you talked to us and said that this was maybe the World Cup where anticipation was growing stronger in Argentina, and that after 36 years after your last title in 1986, people were like, okay, this is our time. How is the mood in Buenos Aires, in Argentina at large?
Similar, very nervy, because Argentina was expecting a much more comfortable path to the round of 16, to the quarterfinals, and since the surprise defeat in the first game against Saudi Arabia, every game was an elimination game, and there was incredible tension. I don't think a goal was celebrated as much in this country as Mexico's goal against as Messi's goal against Mexico, which broke the 0-0 deadlock, and it was like a curse that was broken. There was a lot of fear in the air that something like 2002 would happen when Argentina also arrived as candidates and exited in the first round. But that Messi goal relaxed everyone, and Argentina started playing really well after that. I think the second half against Mexico in the second game and the whole game against in the third game against Poland were very good. Argentina could have scored many more goals in the third game. If it wasn't for the Polish goalkeeper, which had a great performance, saving a great penalty from Messi and many other clear goal-scoring chances. And the team dominated against Australia too in the round of 16. 1-1, and it ended up suffering because of a free goal by Australia, which hit Enzo Fernandez in the face and luckily crept into the goal. But if it wasn't for that goal, Argentina would have ended winning easily, dominating, and with the idea that, okay, the team is improving. It's going from a shocking bad start in a weird game with many goals that were disallowed to finding the form that won them the Copa America in 2021 last year. And okay, we are candidates. We're good, but every game has been nervy, inevitably, and there's going to be massive nerves against Holland, and it's the most competitive match Argentina has played. It's the first really big team. You can say that one of those, as you were saying, is Uruguay a big team? Well, Holland, even if it hasn't won a World Cup, is definitely a big team. Has gone to 3 World Cup finals, has played a lot of times against Argentina in the World Cup finals. Played a World Cup final, in fact, in '78. Argentina eliminated Holland in 14. Holland eliminated Argentina in the quarterfinals of '98 too. They play many times, and it's going to be a tough game, very competitive against Louis van Gaal, who will try to lock Argentina defensively and probably do something on the counterattack. It could be a 120 minutes game like it was the last time, I think, in 2014. Hopefully not, because that would mean Argentina is more tired to play, or Holland, in the semifinal. But it's a very competitive match. Maybe the odds favor Argentina, but very, very slightly. It's a game that anyone can win, really.
But Euan, to bring you in, just to put a point of divergence with Nacho, because I don't think Argentina played that well so far. I don't think they have faced any worth opposition at this point. They managed to lose against Saudi Arabia, which was an exciting team, but I mean, it's Saudi Arabia and Argentina.
Yeah.
And I don't agree Argentina was to win easily against Australia, because Australia almost scored the tying goal at the end.
Yeah.
They had 2 occasions. There was one player who slalomed the entire Argentinian defense and almost did like an amazing Messi-like goal. And I also believe that the physical aspect of this World Cup, this is a World Cup in a very warm country, with very little time to rest between matches. And like Nacho said earlier, Argentina has been in knockout mode since game 2. So, Euan, do you agree? Do you lean more with Nacho or me? Is Argentina playing well? Has they found their groove? And how much do you think the physical aspect can weigh against a Netherlands team that has pretty much turn every game into like their game, and they have paced the game the way they wanted so far?
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, all interesting points. Argentina. I mean, I might even differ from both of you by thinking that I think in the first half against Saudi Arabia, I think Argentina played very well in the first half against Saudi Arabia, and were unlucky not to go in 3-0 or maybe even 4-0 up. But they played against a good side who were able to stop Argentina from playing, and that's something which they didn't face effectively against Mexico, because Mexico were unable to do it, and they didn't face against Poland because Poland had no interest in doing it. And yeah,
Poland didn't play the game, right? They were hoping
defended.
that. Yeah, and they were hoping that the other game was going to go their way, the Saudi Arabia Mexico game, and they just like they were.
So they haven't. they haven't faced a team yet that is, apart from Saudi Arabia, they haven't faced a team since Saudi Arabia, which will try to disrupt the way that they try to attack. And potentially they will against the Netherlands, although the Netherlands, it's a really strange matchup because the Netherlands in all of their games so far have been using this kind of almost a throwback kind of man marking style all the way across the pitch. Some of the bits of the game against the United States were absolutely, it was bizarre. There was no midfield left at one point in the game. And I think potentially with Argentina's kind of quality, individual quality, I mean, I'm looking at, Lionel Messi, that playing against a kind of man-marking defense could be really advantageous to Argentina. In terms of the physical side of things, I think we're going to find out, I think, how much of a toll that has played on the teams and the players in this round now. Because I don't think we've been able to really tell so far. A lot of the big teams rested a lot of players in their last round of group games, and most of them lost. Argentina obviously didn't have that luxury, but
neither the Netherlands, right? They played their full squad against, but it was Qatar. It was Qatar, so
yeah, they changed quite a few. A lot of the big players played. Memphis Depay played. He started for the first time in the tournament against Qatar. So yeah, they have had some rest, but I think this could turn out to be a complete non-factor, or it could be very important, and I think we're going to find that out in this round. I love the matchup between Netherlands and Argentina. As Nacho was saying, they've played together several times in the past in the World Cup in really important, momentous games, and there's no doubt that this one is going to be another momentous occasion. I don't know who's going to win. I think maybe slightly leaning towards Argentina at this point, because building up that momentum, that sort of thing. But I can't wait for that game.
I think if I had to bet, I would bet the Netherlands, but I hope Argentina moves on. I think a Brazil-Argentina matchup would be amazing. Or even if Brazil loses, at least like we have a Latin American side still in the competition. Speaking about Brazil and Argentina and the Netherlands, one of a great World Cup moment for me was their 1998 matchup. I remember like it was today when Ariel Ortega was sent off because of a
headbutting the keeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, Van der Sar.
I mean,
and then Dennis
the Bergkamp goal.
Then Bergkamp scores an amazing goal, controlling a 80 meters pass with his right foot as if it was a pass from 5 yards, and with a brilliant finish. Yeah.
Now, Euan, you talked about about the physical aspect, saying that it's now the moment we're going to see the physical toll on teams. But one team that has shown that they might not have the legs to put on their best game is Croatia, and Croatia is playing Brazil. Brazil was able to rest all of their starters against Cameroon in their last group match. Actually, Brazil has been the only team to put all 26 players, including their 2 reserve goalkeepers, to play. How do you see Brazil and Croatia matching up, Euan?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, this is a Croatia team which has played extra time, played penalties against a Brazil team which you would posit is much fresher, and also much younger as well, and seemingly, from their performances on the pitch, a lot fitter and quicker. But Croatia have been in a similar situation before, albeit they were 4 years younger in Russia, but they went through to the final in that tournament basically without actually winning games. They just put teams out on penalties. So that there is a bit of pedigree there in terms of almost like in South America what we would say about Uruguay in terms of they always kind of dig it out in the end. Croatia have definitely got definitely got some of that spirit, and also I think that Luka Modric, I mean, one of the true kind of greats of our generation. I think he hasn't quite had that performance that he always has in major tournaments, where he just, takes a game by the scruff of the neck and just completely dominates it for Croatia. He hasn't had that performance yet, and if he's gonna have it, he's best to do it against Brazil, because he won't have any more chances after this. Probably will be his last World Cup as well.
He's what, 37?
And we've just lacked a little bit, I think, from Croatia. They've looked good in flashes against Canada after they went down a goal really early. They came back and looked really quite good, but again against a kind of fragile Canada defense. So Brazil are obviously huge favorites for this game, massive favorites. But Croatia have the World Cup spirit in them. We'll see what they can come up with.
How about you, Nacho? Because I think the physical aspect is going to catch up with Croatia, and I hope Brazil wins, not only because I'm a Brazilian, but because I think I hate watching Croatia play. I think the pace of their game is too slow for me. Croatia and Spain were the most boring sides to watch in this World Cup. So how do you see this matchup playing out?
Some would say Morocco were more boring than Spain the other day.
But it's Morocco. They don't have, that's their game. I think I want more from Croatia. I want more from Spain. Spain couldn't make a shot to the goal. For me, it's very unnerving to watch the ball going from one side to the next and back, and they lack objectivity. How do you see, Nacho?
Football sin arcos, we say in Spanish. Football without a goal, just not shooting to, just making lateral passes. That's a typical criticism of Spain.
If you look at the hit map, it looks like a horseshoe. They are outside of the box, but they never go inside the box.
Right.
And one of the Brazilian commentators, just to jump in there, during the Spain-Morocco match, described Spain's approach as the kind of the window wiper approach, just constantly moving back and forward, but without ever actually making it to the box. Very quite interesting.
Yeah, the strikers don't get into the game. I think Morocco played brilliantly, by the way. Great game on the counter-attack. They were deserved winners of that game, and I had fun watching that game. It wasn't that boring, but Croatia were a bit more boring, I think. The game versus Japan, they scored a header to tie it, and then just grind it out to the penalties. I think they were lucky to qualify it versus Belgium. Lukaku could have scored 4 goals in the second half. They needed a draw to qualify, right? But in the last game of the group stages. Mm-hmm. And they were 0-0. At the end, the game ended 0-0. But Lukaku, the Belgian striker, who is a very high-quality striker, although he was coming back from injury, he missed 4 clear goal-scoring chances. He was extremely depressed after the game. You can see it in his face. Belgium should have won that game. So Croatia were lucky to go to the round of 16. They were relatively lucky to go past Japan. I think Modric didn't even last the 120 minutes. The signs of aging are showing a little bit, I think, and the way Brazil played in the last game make him huge favorites. I don't know how the climate is there in Brazil, but in Argentina, people are a bit scared after watching that Brazil performance. That first half from Brazil created a bit of terror, really. Watching the fun they were having, the ease with which they created chances, and the way they just didn't even need the second half. They didn't even need to come out to play in the second half. They not only rested players, I think, versus Cameroon, they almost didn't need to play the second half versus South Korea. And I think if they have another easy game against Croatia, if they find a way to open the scoring and dominate the game as they did early versus South Korea, which they hadn't made in the first games of the Cup, but if they do that, scoring an early goal and opening up the game, I think Brazil will have a big advantage of not being tired, and in the semifinals, in the finals, that could be a big advantage, because this is a very short World Cup. This is the most compressed World Cup we've ever seen. It's been shortened because of it wasn't played in normal time of the year in which it's played. It was played in the middle of the European season. So instead of lasting 30-something days, it's 28 days, all compressed, no resting days.
And by the way,
are going to appear.
the players who play in Europe, which are the vast majority of World Cup players, they crammed up a lot of games just before the World Cup. So a lot of them are already showing signs of fatigue. No, I see Brazil tomorrow as like heavy favorites, and I think that if Croatia does not score early, this can get ugly for Croatia, because I think like the intensity, the physical intensity that Brazil has shown, and with the possibility of 5 substitutions, I think that Brazil is going to be much fresher come the second half. But if Croatia scores first, they can do. They're very skilled in pacing the game and like lowering the temperature of a game. So I think
whoever scores first in football has a massive advantage. It changes the game like in no other sport. You score a goal, you are controlling the game.
Except if you're playing Japan, right?
Right, it's incredible. Japan does have a psychology. It's weird. They're like stable team that doesn't seem to be affected and has turned games around that we would never expect it to turn around against Germany and Spain. But generally, in football, you look at statistics. Whoever scores the first goal wins 75% of games. It's hard. I mean, you can maybe draw it. Some things happen, but it's very weird to see a game that at a high level, especially if the stronger team scores first. It's very rare that you see a turnaround. So yeah, that's a big factor.
Euan, it's been 20 years since Brazil last won a knockout game against an European side. Is this the time we're going to break the curse?
Yeah, I mean, this is an ideal opponent, I think, to break that hoodoo of 20 years. I mean, it's not the most accurate of stats in terms of it doesn't really tell you what the last 20 years have been like for the Brazilian national team, but it has happened to be that by the time they get to like the quarterfinals or the semifinals, they tend to have played, South American sides or North American sides or African sides in the knockout rounds before coming to a much stronger kind of European side, maybe in the semi-final, which was the case in 2014 when they faced Germany, or in 2018 where they faced Belgium in the quarterfinals. Two, strong sides, which they just happened to be European, I think. But I think that might be something that's playing on some people's minds, not necessarily the players' minds or the coach's mind. But to break that kind of curse, I think an aging Croatia side, which is physically exerted themselves to the maximum, and just a couple of days ago, I think they're the ideal team for Brazil to face.
Now, Nacho, fanship aside, forget you're an Argentina fan watching this World Cup. How confident are you that Argentina is going to win the World Cup?
I think there are two teams that are scary from the Argentine point of view. Those are France and Brazil. They have looked superior teams. You watch Mbappé play, and it's scary. And you watch the Brazilian team against South Korea, and it's scary. But I think the derbies, the classic matchup factor between Argentina and Brazil makes the game very competitive. I mean, it's like I don't know if in Argentina at least this is like a phrase that a derby is a different game from the rest of the league. It doesn't matter the form in which the team is coming. It's almost a mind game. Things even up. Even if one team is playing better, things even up. Argentina will have the confidence of having beaten Brazil last year, even if this Brazil team is better than the Copa America team that Argentina played, I think. And if that matchup happens, I think Argentina will trust its chances against Brazil, and it will be a competitive match. Even if Brazil seems to be a bit technically superior at the moment, Argentina has this, I think this cup, what you were saying at the beginning about Argentines being as confident or hopeful as ever, I think there's a bit of mystique in the air in Argentina that this is Messi's last World Cup, or at least his last World Cup at a top level. He's going to be 39 for the next World Cup. That's a bit too old for a football player, even if he manages to play. There's the fact that Argentina broke its spell of not winning cups last year, hadn't won an international tournament for 28 years, broke it last year. Maradona died last year, and also that creates a little bit of okay, this is a transition. It adds a bit in the minds of players that this is a special year in which we have a little bit more. I think there's a lot of psychological factors that could give a little bit extra for Argentina to be competitive against Brazil, and it would be an extremely competitive game.
And I think that there's another thing going on for the Argentinians is the stand factor. When you watch an Argentina game, the crowd noise is amazing, and I only think it may be parallel to Morocco because a lot of Middle Eastern people who are attending the matches, they are for Morocco at this point, but
Yes.
like it seems Argentina is playing at Avellaneda, not in Qatar, right?
Yes, it's interesting what happened because versus Saudi Arabia, Argentina was not the home team. Saudi Arabia had much stronger support. They are They are very close to Qatar, obviously, but also Argentinian fans were the typical World Cup crowd of very rich people who can afford to pay the plane tickets and so on. And there was a bit of effort from the Argentine Football Association to somehow send people with more experience attending local football matches and bring the how do you say the bombos? Yeah, bringing the atmosphere, the noise to the crowd, the how do you say, like the drums, that kind of thing, drums. And the chanting. There was an organized effort to chant. There were Argentina organized events around the stadium to chant before the game and to make sure that everyone knows the chants and go to the games, knowing how to support the team. And starting from the second match onwards, Argentina was the clear home team in all of its games. But I think Brazil is often the home team too, right? And maybe against Argentina it would
not
be
the same atmosphere though.
Not as big, maybe. Okay, but
yeah, I mean the crowd noise from Argentinian fans is something I don't think in national football sides it's paralleled what the Argentinians do.
I think it's the enthusiasm of the moment. It's the enthusiasm of the moment. People really, really want to get behind this team. It's true that in past World Cups, Argentina has support, of course, they bring fans, but they don't make this much noise. And this is the kind of factor I was talking about. They have a little extra push from the people, from themselves, that they think this World Cup is special and it's a special opportunity that they have to take advantage of.
How about you, Euan? Do you bet on Brazil or Argentina for winning it all? Because France looks quite impressive, quite scary.
Yeah, things have changed, I think, in terms of who are the favourites for this particular World Cup. I know that obviously Brazil and Argentina are still the two front runners, but we've seen quite a lot from France, and we've seen some good play as well from England, as much as I hate to say it, and also Portugal with that particular win yesterday was one of the outstanding performances of the World Cup, paralleled perhaps by Brazil against South Korea, but not necessarily. So there's a lot of teams definitely in with a shout here. Whereas I think we thought before that it might have been a bit more, maybe Brazil, maybe Argentina, maybe one or two other European teams would have a go.
I think France was always a candidate too, right? As the title defender, and they were always a bit of a candidate too.
But I think it was Brazil and Argentina in terms of betting odds, the two favorites.
Yeah. Brazil, Argentina, France, and Spain were the top four.
Yeah, Spain didn't work out.
Again, just before we kind of wrap things up, I just want to kind of make an honourable mention for something that we missed earlier on. Was just to say how impressed, to a certain extent, I was with Ecuador's participation in this World Cup, and how excited I am about their future participations in the World Cup. They had an excellent start. They should have beaten the Netherlands. They dominated that game against them. They drew 1-1. They should have qualified then and there. But that game will still be, remembered for quite some time in Ecuador, as because it was just a fantastic performance from them in terms of
they deserve to
really
win.
Really stepping up against big European opposition and being the better side. And I think when you look at that team, with the exception of the goalkeeper and of Ener Valencia, who's obviously their top goal scorer, the spine of this team is like maximum 25 years old. They have many, many, many years to play together and to develop. And, I'm really looking forward to seeing, what they can do potentially in
The
4
only
years'
poor
time.
game, the only poor game they played was the last one. They were, I don't know if they were nervous, the big stage, but they played
Yeah.
excellent in the opening
Yeah,
game against Qatar.
they played out
Too
of
passive.
character. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
because
were out of
they knew that they only
Yep.
needed a draw. They only needed to
Yeah,
draw
they
the
played for the
game.
draw and they got a loss, as
Yeah.
it happened to many teams in this World Cup. You play
Yeah.
for a draw,
Exactly.
you lose 1-0, you lose 2-0. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Uruguay, really.
Yeah, like Poland.
Yeah.
By the way, so Brazil and Argentina, of course, both countries live and breathe for the World Cup, and God knows that both countries badly need a win for them. Of Argentina with the inflation crisis right now, with political polarization, Brazil just coming out of this massively divisive election. Nacho, who needs it more?
I think I'm gonna say us.
Don't be a homer. Don't be a homer.
I'm gonna say us, but I think Brazil still has a. You're still the team that won it the most times. I think Argentina is psychologically. It's hard to compare with Brazil, but I think psychologically people are desperate for Argentina to win the cup. This song, one of the songs that they sing the most is "I want to win the third World Cup." It says in one part, and that's the part when they sing the loudest. Quiero ganar la tercera. I want to win the third one. People are a bit desperate for a win. I think it would be crushing if it happens or when it happens. There's no one's talking about anything else here right now. Christina Kirchner was sentenced to jail. That was a talking point for 6 hours, and now we're back talking about whether De Paul can play against Holland or is he injured or not. Nothing matters really, and I think Brazil is a little bit similar though, right? Politics are put to a side, and it's all World Cup. And I think we reflected this a little bit in the website, right? We've focused on football a little bit in this month. It's how Latin America is. This month it's about football, politics, economics. They're suspended. It's like carnival. It's like a different time of the year.
Yeah. How about you, Euan? Who do you think deserves not deserves, but who do you think needs the most?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know enough or cover Argentina to the extent where I can judge whether they need a World Cup or not. So I'm gonna have to say Brazil. I think it is just like there is a kind of feeling of just a kind of desperation for not necessarily unity, but just something to bring people together, something to distract
Something we can
us.
all agree, right?
Yeah,
like
to
winning a
distract
World
us
Cup
to a
is
certain
good.
extent. Yeah, and just something that people can kind of unquestionably celebrate without it turning into some sort of argument of us versus them sort of thing, which has been the way of things in Brazil for a long time, and probably will continue to be the way in Brazil for a long time. But yeah, I think just after the pandemic, after the election, it would just be a really kind of nice way to just round off a really kind of strange last few years.
Right. So before we patch things up, I would like to ask both of you, what are your guesses for tomorrow's scores? Nacho,
Jeez.
Argentina and the Netherlands.
Oh my God, I don't want to guess. I think it's bad luck, so I'm gonna say the Netherlands win 5-0. People are obsessed here with good luck and bad luck in Argentina, so I'm not going to say Argentina wins. I think it's a very tight game. I do think Brazil wins comfortably. I don't fear jinxing Brazil, and if I jinx it, I'm not worried. I don't care. So, so yeah, that's what I can
Brazil?
say.
What's the score for Brazil?
2-0, 3-1, something like that. I think they can win comfortably. Yeah.
How about you,
Euan? I would say 2-0 Brazil. And I think, as we've kind of alluded to earlier on in this live, that I think Netherlands and Argentina is going to go the distance, and we're going to go all the way to penalties. I think it's just a 1-1, no goals in extra time, and I don't know, Messi scores the winning penalty.
For me, in our office sweepstakes, I put 2-0 Brazil and 3-2 Argentina in 120 minutes. So you guys will be very tired For us to beat.
That sounds like a hope more than a guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Fabiani, our finance reporter, she's already miles ahead of me in the sweepstakes. So
She already won,
now,
right?
now I'm
Yeah.
just putting my hopes
Right.
to my guesses and just like putting the scores with my heart, not with my head. So that's what I want to happen. All right, let's patch things up. Nacho, thank you very much, and good luck for Argentina tomorrow. And I know you're going to be cheering for Brazil secretly against your nature, but you will. You want every one of your colleagues to be happy, tomorrow. So
I hope you have good reasons to be happy elsewhere, because I don't know if I can bring myself to cheer for Brazil, but I hope you have happy lives other than this, other than here.
Thank you very much as well, Euan. I know you're going to be rooting for both Brazil and Argentina. Am I wrong?
Always.
Euan is the diplomatic
always.
guy. Yeah. Euan is the good face.
And also, more importantly, for France on Saturday.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. My wife is French, so I have like matrimonial obligations to.
And we
root
hate
for
England
France
here
as well.
too, so I think we can agree on that one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hate is a very strong word, but I'm certainly supporting whoever they're playing against.
Football hate.
Ignacio, Malvinas or Falklands?
Oh, come on.
I'm
What
leaving.
about what about Portugal, Morocco? What do you guys think will happen?
I think we're going to see, quite similar to the Spain game, Morocco will basically try to let absolutely nothing happen in the match, and nothing will happen. And Portugal, I think, have enough about them. They have enough variety in their attack to come away with a goal. I think, Portugal will probably win that 1-0 in normal time. But, if Morocco have it their way, we're going to penalties again, 0-0.
Yeah, I put 1-0 for Portugal and 3-1 for France. So,
all right.
What about you, Nacho?
I think I've been underrating Portugal systematically in this cup, so I'm going to have to say Portugal. But I like this Morocco team. I trusted them versus Spain too. But I guess Portugal is bigger than I thought. They won even without Cristiano Ronaldo, which seems to be in a fight with his own team, but doesn't seem to matter. The team plays well without him. So I guess they're the favorites, but I've liked Morocco throughout this World Cup. It hasn't been luck. It's been a good team.
All right, so thank you guys very much, and we're gonna see tomorrow who's right, who's wrong. Have a good one,
All right.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.